Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dive Deep. I'm Shelby Cornett, and I'm the ministry assistant at Cambridge City Christian Church, and Danny is back.
I'm back. You missed me, didn't you?
I did.
You don't look like it. You know that we're at church, and you're not supposed to. Well, you're not supposed to lie anyway.
Yeah, only in the church building can you not lie.
But you're in the church building, and
Yeah.
you can't lie. So did you really miss me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll take that, I guess.
Yeah. We survived.
You survived. Oh, I'm sure you did more
Yeah.
than. I'm sure you thrived. I'm sure
We,
you and Travis
we had-
partied it up
yeah.
while I was gone last week.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I am the kind of the killjoy around here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
well.
Anyways,
Anyway, all right.
church stuff.
Church stuff.
We started a 2-week series.
Just a quick series, yeah.
Yeah. Mythbusters.
Mythbusters.
Not Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Mythbusters.
Mythbusters.
Guy with the
yeah.
mustache.
Yes, we don't have the what is it called? What was the Ghostbusters machine? It was it the Ecto? I don't remember what it was. There was a name.
Marshmallow looking guy
There was
with the
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, not that one.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
Have you ever watched Mythbusters?
Yeah, I've seen Mythbusters. There's
Yeah.
some cool little things that they've kind of busted on that show. I don't
Yeah.
think it's still on anymore. I think it's
I don't think so
you
either.
can watch it like online or YouTube or whatever. But
Yeah, I used to like watching that show.
yeah. So yeah, we're talking about myths when it comes to our faith.
Yeah.
And more specifically, this week we talked about the church, and we talked about hypocrisy, the hypocrisy myth. And I've had a lot of people through the years be like, "Well, I don't think Christianity's real, or I don't think your church is really," because the people that go there are just a bunch of hypocrites. And I mentioned the sermon Sunday. Well, yeah, we all are. Everybody's a hypocrite to some degree. Now, granted, sometimes Christians could be maybe very hypocritical, but that doesn't
Right.
mean that our message and our faith is no good because people are hypocrites. So that's kind of what we focused on this week. We took a look at a few things, and
Right.
I think we're going to talk about that. But, yeah.
And quick opinion.
Yeah.
If you're a hypocrite, shouldn't you go to church?
Well, yeah, that's the whole point, right? Yeah, it's just kind of an excuse
Yeah.
to some degree. Let's just
Yeah, I
be
get it.
honest. I mean, we all have them. I mean, I have excuses to not do things too.
Right.
I think that it's an excuse. I don't think it's a legitimate one,
Mm-hmm.
because for every hypocrite, I can also point out to you somebody who lives a very genuine faith. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I'll just start the question so I don't answer one of my own.
Yeah, I know. That's what I
questions.
was trying to be careful about.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Lightning round.
Lightning round.
Yep.
Yes.
Question 1.
Yep.
What does Ephesians 1-10 tell us?
Yeah, so Ephesians 5, 1 through 10. Yeah, and in
Yes.
Ephesians 5, 1 through 10 is just this really powerful text. And I just wanted to read the first verse. It says, "Be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." Simply put, we are called to be just like Jesus. Being an imitator of Jesus is learning more about him, having a heart, a mind, doing actions that Jesus did. That's why it's so important to read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, to learn more about Jesus so that we can be more like Jesus. And that's actually how the end of the passage says. It says in verse 10, "Find out what pleases the Lord." That's really what it is.
Yeah.
If we want to imitate Jesus, we got to find out what pleases him.
Yeah. Question 2. You said Sunday, do not glory in our brokenness. Can you explain what
Yeah.
that means?
So all of us are broken. All of us are sinners. All of us have done things in our lives that are wrong, evil, that we wish we hadn't done. We need to recognize that and say, yes, I do have these things in my life, but we shouldn't dwell in them. And I think there are 2 reasons. Sometimes we dwell in it because then we're trying to show how great God's grace is to pull us from that into his grace. But let's not dwell on the brokenness, dwell on God's grace. I think another reason is because when we dwell on our brokenness, it makes for a good story. Don't make sin the main part of your story. Make Jesus the main part of your story.
Yeah. And my last question was, how can we be an authentic imitator?
Yeah, so those 2 words are kind of opposite,
Yeah,
right?
they are.
Authentic, you don't usually imitate. If you're imitating, you're not authentic. what Jesus has taught us is that he is the authentic piece. He is, actually, the scriptures say that he is the first Adam. In other words, he is the prototype of what a human should be.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the real deal. So we want to imitate the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
So an authentic imitator is we are imitating the only one who is truly authentic and real, and that is Jesus. So Jesus, God, wants all of us to be authentic imitators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So
Yep.
what else was there from this Sunday?
Yeah. So, there was this, so I was talking with my kids at dinner last night about the sermon. I do want to issue an apology. They said that it really jarred them that, like, at the very beginning of the sermon, there was a picture of Osama bin Laden that popped up on the.
I did think about that. I was like, we're just sitting in church with pictures of bin Laden on the screen.
I apologize. And then my kids said, the worst part was that it wasn't just that he was up there, but that he stayed up there. Like,
That's true. He was up there for
he was up
a
there
little
for,
too
for
long.
a little too long. That was my fault. But the story behind that was that he was found out to do like he loved American things, even though
Yeah.
he supposedly despised America.
He
And
was
he
a
was a
fake.
hypocrite. Yeah, he was a fake. But the fact is that while obviously nowhere near in the same way as Osama bin Laden, but all of us are fakes, right? All of us have something in our lives that we're fake about. And so what we want to do is we grow in our faith. Like I just read there from Ephesians, is we want to, part of growing in faith in Jesus is finding out more and more what pleases Jesus.
Mhm.
And so what pleases him? I mean, what are some things that please him? What do you think?
I mean, loving people,
Yeah, loving people.
trying to be like him,
Trying to be like him. Yeah.
studying,
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah. I mean, actually, that whole passage in Ephesians 5, I didn't read the whole thing. I read the beginning and the end of it. But in between, it kind of has this like list of things you
Mhm.
shouldn't do, things that you should do.
Mhm.
That's a good place to start. And then
Yeah.
go back into the Gospels, and then you learn more and more of what pleases Jesus. So
Mhm.
I think that is maybe something that we could, not maybe, it is something we can all improve on.
Yeah.
Is continually looking at how does my testimony and the way I live affect other people and the way they see Jesus?
Mhm.
Because unfortunately, and again, I do think it's an excuse, but we don't want to put anything in the way of somebody coming to know Jesus.
Mhm.
And that includes ourselves and our lifestyles. So we want to make sure that we match up as best we can.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I said Sunday was we need to admit when we mess up.
Mhm.
Come right out and say, wow, I really messed up in this. I'm really sorry. Because that's, again, even though Jesus never had to say he was sorry because he was perfect,
Mhm.
but what it does show is humility and
Mhm.
acknowledging that. And that says a lot to people. I think, unfortunately, a lot of times Christians double down. They don't come out and say that they messed up. I mean, honestly, I'll give an example of this on a more like on a bigger level. Look what's been happening, not just in the Catholic Church, although it's been big in the Catholic Church, but we've seen it in a lot of churches, is child sex abuse scandals.
Mhm.
For a long time, churches have stood around and said, nothing happened. That didn't happen. These things didn't happen. And they wouldn't admit that they were wrong.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, they should pay a price for what they've done. But maybe if they'd have come out in the beginning, people would have been a lot more forgiving and a lot more understanding
Mhm.
of the sin in their lives. But when you double down and when you say that I'm not going to be humble in this, it really hurts our testimony as Christ followers. So,
Mhm.
so be authentic. Say, hey, yeah, I'm a screw up. I mess up. But also be more and more like Jesus. I think if you put those two things together, we can get rid of this myth,
Yeah.
this hypocritical myth.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's only one more week.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what are
this
we
week.
talking about?
So we're going to talk about another myth this week. That is the myth of blind faith.
Ooh.
So a lot of people, and I've heard it said even in the church, that, sometimes you just got to have blind faith when you follow Jesus. No. Okay. There's a lot of information, a lot of things out there that points to a faith that is informed.
Mhm.
Yes, there is a piece of faith where it's faith. You have to
Mhm.
trust that what somebody's telling you is the truth. in this case, Jesus, in this case, the New Testament. But it's not like it's blind faith. There's a lot of information out there that points to this thing, this Bible, this word being the authentic word of God. There's a lot of things historically, a lot of things within the text itself. So we're going to kind of dig a little bit into that and talk about this myth, and that we don't have to have blind faith to have godly faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to
No,
add for this
I
week?
don't think so. It's good being back,
Yeah.
even though I'm still not convinced you're happy to have me back. But
I'm thrilled.
thrilled, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, she sounds real thrilled, doesn't she, everybody? Okay. All right.
Yeah. So next week we'll talk about whatever you just said we're going to talk
Blind
about.
faith.
Blind faith.
Yeah. And I'm the old one.
Forgot
It sounds like
already.
you're losing it. All
I
right.
have mom brain.
Okay.
That's an excuse.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
It's a valid excuse.
Okay.
So we'll talk about blind faith next week while we wrap up the Mythbusters series, and we hope you have a good week.